Hello and welcome to our QlikBot webinar. Today we are going to have a short discussion about the two Qlik bots that we have launched on Qlik Branch. My name is Todd Margolis. I'm a senior product manager at Qlik, responsible for our collaboration product area. I have with me today Wuzong Zhu from our developer relations team, as well as Yanni Viveris from our Qlik demo team. And so they are the authors of QlikBot.net and QlikBot Node, respectively. And we're going to delve into some technical details about them. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the business value that we're trying to achieve with these Qlik bots. So first, I'm going to talk about the philosophy behind what we're working on in the Qlik collaboration area. And so I like to think of it as the 5 R's, and specifically delivering the 5 R's. And the first word there, deliver, is probably one of the more important words, because what I'm trying to achieve there is really invert the traditional way that we think of analytics, where instead of bringing content, bringing users into Qlik apps, we're trying to bring Qlik content to where users already are. So whether that is on their phone or tablet, or inside of another application, like maybe Confluence or Jive or Community like we're using today, or inside of messaging platforms like Slack or Telegram. And so we want to take that content to where you are rather than forcing you to come to Qlik. So the way we do it is through these 5 R's. So I'll just quickly go through those. First is make sure that we bring you the right information. So we're going to help automate and simplify your analysis. And so that's like when you make a search, you make sure that you get the most appropriate charts and values returned to you. We want to make sure that the right people have access to the right content. So we're still going to apply governance and security, but we don't want to be too restrictive so that people can't access what they need to. So we're going to do things around social BI, looking at network graphs to maybe suggest that if you're working on something, you've created an app, maybe your colleagues or your employees may be also interested in seeing that, but not necessarily do it without your permission. We want to bring it to you at the right time. So we can do things like automating delivery, and we already have some of this. Hopefully you're familiar with Qlik Printing, which is our enterprise reporting products. And so we want to double down on that and do things around alerting and self-service digest and things like that to help automate the delivery of this content directly to you. And again, we want to do it in the right place. So like I mentioned before, take it to the places, whether they're content management systems or messaging platforms or portals, or of course, your Qlik bots. And then the last thing, might be the most important, is making sure that you have the right context, meaning when you actually get something shared with you, whether that's through a bot or from another human being, you understand why you're receiving it. Maybe you know who shared it with you. Maybe there's annotations or comments associated with it. Maybe that there's another caption describing what that chart means. We want to help provide that context so that it makes the analysis easier and it allows you to go from insight to action. So if we do all this, we think that it will help both increase usage as well as expand adoption. Let more people have access to your data and help drive data literacy throughout our customers' workplace. And the way that we're doing this is by building, really taking advantage of the Qlik platform. So we're building new services and new APIs to access those services. And then we're really going to work with customers and partners to help connect to all the different platforms that we want. Because we can't build all the different integrations. We can build integrations, maybe let's say with Telegram or Slack, but there's hundreds and hundreds of other messaging platforms. And so we're going to have to choose wisely and work with our developer community to make sure that they can build out the other integrations that they want. And that's really, a good example of what we've done with our Qlik bots, providing you with this source code and documentation and access to developers to be able to leverage them in new ways and take them into new places that we may not have ever chosen to do so. So real fast, I'm just going to review some of the different themes that we're working on in the collaboration area. So the first is enterprise reporting, and that's what I already mentioned that we provide with endprinting. And we're continuing to further develop endprinting, creating new features. We've already satisfied most of the gap features between endprinting 16 and 17, and now we're just working on enhancing what our reporting product can be. And then most of what you see below that are new capabilities. So providing the ability to easily share, and basic sharing is sort of like unidirectional, where I can share something with you manually or potentially through a Qlik bot. Advanced sharing is more bidirectional. So this is around things like discussion and comments and annotations, and ultimately maybe even around workflow, supporting business process automation. And then self-service digests. And in some ways, that's similar to reporting, but the key here is that we're really focused on making it easy for individual users to be able to create those digests themselves. And so it'll be very easy to use, but it probably won't have all of the rich advanced functionality that you have inside of endprinting. So it won't have pixel perfect sort of layout, for example. You may only have a couple different templates to choose from. And then building on top of all of those capabilities, we're looking at alerting. So this is also self-service, making it very easy when you're looking at a chart to be able to say, look, I want to know every time this KPI goes over this threshold. Send that to me, maybe via email, but also maybe send it to me inside of Slack or send it to me inside of Confluence or Salesforce. And so delivering that notification in different places. And then we're looking at social BI. And so with that, we are enabling things like liking and tagging and favoriting and rating. And we want to be able to really take advantage of your social network within the enterprise, making things go viral or have a network effect so that you can communicate your insights with the most appropriate people as easily as possible. And then last but definitely not least, we already have storytelling built into the Qlik Sense platform, and we're really going to continue to do some radical improvements on it. As we build out all of these new capabilities around sharing and alerting and digesting and social BI, we can use those new services and APIs to really transform storytelling into something even better than what it is today. So that's the basic outline of what we're working on. And the point I really want to drill home is that the Qlik bots will be able to take advantage of all of these new capabilities. So what we have today is just leveraging the current APIs in our platform. But all of the things you see here are new services and APIs that we're working on. And eventually, those will get folded into Qlik bots for either you to add or potentially for us to add as well, since this is an open source collaborative project. So now I want to actually go and talk about the bots in more detail. And as I mentioned, we've got these two different bots, QlikBot.net and QlikBot.Node. And so QlikBot.net you may already be familiar with. It's been shown publicly a few times. It was originally developed by Juan Gerardo in our pre-sales team. And now our fearless leader, Wuzong Zhu, has taken on the new QlikBot net and is and he is adding has updated it so that we can release it to be a more high quality production or almost production quality project, and making it easier for developers to extend. So with that, I would like to pass it over to Wu for him to talk a little bit more about that. Go ahead, Wu.
All right, thanks, Todd. And hi, everyone. Happy New Year. So I'm going to introduce QlikBot.net. And why is it called QlikBot.net? It's because it's built on top of .NET framework with Sense SDK and all the other SDKs. And it's Windows based, and right now it is on Telegram only. It allows users to communicate with a BI tool in a much more intuitive way through NLP. And ideally, this bot should understand the questions from the users and provide answer quickly and accurately. So the difference between Qlik.net and other bots available is that it speaks in BI terms. So you understand what KPI is, you understand measures, dimension, and reports. So you understand the user's BI needs. So Todd, maybe you can show a demo.
Sure, it would be my pleasure. So here we are looking at Qlik.net. And so as Wu mentioned, this is built for Telegram right now. And so I'm just using the Telegram web client. Of course, the same thing runs on Android or iOS phones as well. And so first thing you might want to do is type help. And then once you do that, the bot will respond and give you some examples of what you can do with it. So right now I'm speaking directly to it. It should be noted that you can also invite it into a group conversation, and so that you can interact with it using the Qlik.net. And I should update that. That's actually wrong. It should say Qlik.net for this particular demo. And then these are some of the commands that it can use. So maybe the first thing I'll do is just look at what are my KPIs. And I can use just shorthand, just say KPIs. Or I could use longhand English and say, what are my KPIs? And it's pretty flexible with interpreting via natural language processing, understanding what I'm saying and what the intent is of what the bot should return. So in this case, we've chosen some of our most important KPIs to return. And what I can do is just click on any of those buttons, and it will come back and return my current value from the Qlik Sense app. So we're looking at this year versus last year sales. It's 68.1%. Now, that's great. Let's say there's some other measures that I'm interested in. I'll just type measures. And now it's going to return all of the different measures we have in this particular app. So let's say I'm interested in margin percentage. My current margin percentage value is 44%. And that's great. We're just looking at that. But let's say I'm interested in looking at it via other dimensions. So now I type in dimensions, and it lets me see all of the master dimensions here. And so let's say we're interested in margin by sales rep. So it's going to say what my total margin is, and then it's going to do a little bit of a narrative on some of the other, the margin by sales rep. And it's telling me that there's two of the highest here and what the difference is between them. It also happened to find that there was a chart related to that. And so we can click on that, and it will take me to an actual Qlik Sense chart looking at what the most closely related chart is that I found. So in this case, it's a pivot table. It could have been a bar chart or a line chart or anything else. And this is an actual Qlik Sense chart, right? So I can make selections here and drill into it and do further analysis if I wanted. I'm going to go ahead and close that. I also want to point out that we can make selections. So let's say I'm interested in, well, actually, before I get to that, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I want to show that you don't have to just do it through these user interface buttons. We can also do natural language query. So what that means is I can actually just type in something, and it will parse that and give me the value. So I said sales performance by state, and it actually was smart enough to realize what I meant by sales performance is probably total revenue, and it gave me the revenue. And then it, again, breaks it down by the dimension value that I provided. It also found a chart for that. Now let's say I'm interested specifically in sales performance by state for California, let's say, because it didn't actually mention that. Now it's going to go ahead and give me what that value is specifically for California. And now I notice I've made a selection here in the state field, and that selection will stay there. So if we go back and look at our measures, and I select a different measure here, so let's say we're interested in late shipments. So current late shipments. So there it's just telling me the total value. But if I do here late shipments by state, and there it's got California listed there. It is actually a little bit confused. I apologize because I did this sort of in a weird way. But we can go ahead and look at other dimensions or queries if we wanted, and it would keep that selection on California. So if I wanted to clear that, I could just type clear, and then it's removed all of those filters. The other thing that it can do is it can gather the reports from end printing that we have from this app too. So if I just type in reports, it gives us a list of the different reports it has access to. I can click on any of those, and it will let me go ahead and download and view that. And so that's just a PDF, and there we go. And if I want, I can go ahead and click that and view it. Oh, it showed up on my other monitor. And there it is, we've got that. So I will just close that, we don't need to see that. Okay. And so that's pretty much it from the demo that I thought I would show. Wu, is there anything else that you wanted to demo?
Nope, thank you very much.
Sure.
So here is a list of the most common commands that you can use in this app, in this bot, but it's just a small fraction of what it can actually do. Like what Todd just showed you. You can do NLP. You can ask you can just try it out with any questions. I mean, right now it is not perfect. It makes some mistakes, but hopefully in the future it will be smarter and smarter and fulfill all of the needs eventually. So the bot itself is, I think, it's pretty well developed at this stage when we announced it, but there's certainly room for development, for future development. So, and that's why we are open sourcing the whole thing on GitHub. And the information can be found on the link at the bottom. It's actually Qlik-bot on GitHub. You can just find it out there, find more information there. And next slide, please. So here's this architecture, overall architecture for Qlik.net. So as you have seen in the demo, it's a Telegram-based service. The user should be able to access their report on any device, anywhere, the 5 hours, right? The right time, right information, right places. They have access to the BI reports on, they can view their BI reports on mobile devices, laptop, or anything. So that's the convenience messaging platform gives us. And the bot itself, it runs on the same server as other Qlik products. So it can have access to Qlik Sense and printing. It has to be set on a Sense server. However, it also talks to other service providers through REST APIs, like ECOP for narratives, Google Dialogflow. That's the NLP service by Google and Microsoft Luis. So both of these are supported right now. And you can use Bing for news search. Like if you see something and you find it interesting, you want to search online, you can just call the bot itself to search for you. And right now it supports only Telegram, but in the future we are thinking about expanding to Slack, or you can expand it to Slack by yourself, right? That's why we are open sourcing it, and many more. So, and we are thinking about this to be a bridge between BI and the rest of the world. And we hope you can be part of that as well. And next slide, please. So the board itself it was developed by Joan, and I took over to modularize it. So ideally, we hope this board will benefit more people and being extended in more creative ways. That's why we modularized all of this functionality into a different parts, so that we hope you can reuse it and scale it, and we hope you can have fun with it. And that's all for me. And I will have Yanni to talk about his Qlik Branch node.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Yanni Ververis. I'm the senior developer in the Qlik demo team. And I've written this a couple of months ago, and it's an ongoing project, so every help is welcome. It's written all in Node.js and Express, and the good thing about that is that you can install it on every OS, Macintosh, Linux, Windows, whatever you want. And for now, it connects to Telegram, but there are more coming up, more channels. It enables users to quickly check on their KPIs. I have in my demo, I have 3 apps that I connect to: CIO dashboard, Salesforce, and help desk. And there I have a list of commands. So if you want to go on to the demo, Tom, Todd.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
So here again, we have a demo of the QlikBot node running in the web viewer of Telegram. Again, this can easily be accessed from Android or iOS devices as well. So when you connect to it, then you can ask it, if you type help, it will give you some examples of the different apps that you can connect to. So if I go ahead and connect to the Salesforce app, then it goes ahead and gives me a screenshot of what that dashboard looks like, and a few buttons. And in fact, if I click on that first button, View Demo, it actually takes us to that Qlik Sense application. This is a mashup. And so you could simply use QlikBot Node just as one easy way for people to find and access the Qlik apps. That's one way of doing it. Or if you wanted further, sort of interaction with the app, you can do it that way. Or if we go back, you'll see that there's 2 other buttons here. And so what Yanni has done is made it very easy to access all of your top KPIs. So here's all of the KPIs related to the dashboard. We can look at the open ops values and number of customers and things like that. And then same thing with opportunities. So these are all of your KPIs. So you can see it's actually very, very easy to access whatever information you want very quickly through these buttons. And so if we look at maybe another one of the apps, I think it was CIO. There we go. Now we've got the CIO dashboard, and same thing. We can click this link to go to the actual Sense app, or we can simply click on the buttons to get all of the KPIs for each one of the different sheets here. And you can kind of organize these in however you'd like, add as many of the buttons or as the KPIs under each button as you'd like. All right, Yanni, is there anything else that you'd like to add to that?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
All right. Great.
Yeah, here's a list of the available commands. There are a lot more, but these are the main ones for the navigation that Todd has showed you. I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit more coming on these days. So, yeah, Todd, if you want to move to the next slide, please. Yeah, here's the admin guide. It's based on Node.js. It's the current version is 7.0, but by Friday it's going to be 8.2 because I'm incorporating, I'm changing all the code into ES7. Here Node.js would be 8.2 version. I have MySQL for now because in our demos and best practices team, we have more stuff in the server, more routes. The good thing, the way we set it up, it's very expandable, and you can have a lot more routes, a lot more models besides the Sense bot. So you can have a complete server based on this one. You need Git bash, of course, so you can commit your stuff to Git. And you need to run the server, because it's running on HTTPS, you need to have the certificates exported from Qlik Sense. So you have to get them from your server if you have them. Next slide, please. And here's a short description of the developer guide. You can find everything, of course, online. There's more detail on how to install this and run it. Make sure I've split it up in branches for version controlling, instead of having branches for individual contributors. And I prefer to have contributors with tags and branches for the version. So all you have to do is npm install everything, and then make sure you run some commands like uplint to have it ESLint and everything before you commit. Here are some rules. You can check them out on the open source on GitHub. Yeah, that's it for this slide. If you want to move on, Todd, please.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So just to kind of recap a little bit, we've shown you two Qlik bots here today, QlikBot.net and QlikBot No. I want to actually sort of let you know that there's many other bots that have been built by Qlik employees and partners and customers. That some of this stuff is already open source and on branch. Some of it is still being worked on internally. But I think that this is just the beginning of at least not just open source solutions, but actually of solutions by tech partners as well. One of the things that we're hoping comes out of providing these as open source projects is to kind of seed more entrepreneurial chatbot efforts with Qlik. We think that we're one of the most ideal platforms for analytics out there to be able to leverage conversational analytics. Because we have all of our rich APIs, because our engine is so powerful, we think that there's a good opportunity for customers here. And in fact, we've already heard about many millions of dollars of opportunities from customers asking for a Qlik bot. So these are some of the examples here, and it's not just inside of Telegram. As you can see here, there's some for Slack, there's some for Yammer or Alexa, and they all have very different purposes too. Some is kind of more focused around annotation and discussion, some are more around administration, restarting tasks and things like that. So it's not just for kind of end business users to get their KPIs, it's also for IT to be able to administer their Qlik Enterprise environment. And then finally, we are working with a couple Qlik technology partners, and we're hoping that they're going to be launching their own production quality supported bots coming out in Q1, hopefully. So please keep posted for that. So last, I want to just kind of throw out some different ideas for what are some opportunities here. This is just the beginning. I think 27 was really the year where ClickBots kind of went mainstream. It's very, very easy now to create a bot. You could do it in, a basic bot in only a few minutes. But to really make it useful, what are the next kind of opportunities to do this? So, we've already talked a lot about using different messaging platforms. Slack is high up on the list. We hear a lot also about Skype, but there's many, many other chat platforms as well. So, thinking about what platform your company or your customers prefer to use in their, workplaces is going to be really critical for deciding what other platforms, messaging platforms, and not just messaging, you could embed these, as you've seen, into content management systems. So maybe it's also things like Salesforce or Confluence or Joomla or Drupal or other CMSs. So we're also very interested in continuing to have a deeper integration with the Qlik Sense platform. So one of the things that you'll be seeing very soon is embedding charts directly into the chat application. So not just having a link that you can go and visit that webpage, but actually rendering images of those charts and providing those inside of Slack or Telegram or things like that. We're also interested in seeing the possibilities of using ODAG, or on-demand app gen, inside of a Qlik bot. One thing that I think is actually going to be very important for successful bots is this idea of context, and specifically using kind of technical terms coming from natural language processing here. There's these concepts of intent, value, and user carryover. So what I mean by that is intent carryover, for example, is if I ask a question like, how is the weather in San Francisco? And then I say, what about the traffic? The fact that I was already talking about San Francisco, the bot should be smart enough to keep that value and just provide a value return for traffic rather than weather. And then conversely, it should be the same thing with the value carryover. So if I say, how is the traffic in San Francisco? And then I can change it to, what about New York? It will know that I'm still asking that same question about traffic or about weather, just for a different city. And then the last thing is user carryover. And I think this is pretty interesting too, where we can look at asking questions about, if I ask, how is the weather in San Francisco? And then I come back a week later, maybe it should automatically, if I just say, how's the weather? It should remember that in previous conversations, I have focused on San Francisco, or maybe it's reading from my social graph or profile somehow. It can infer values, and so it should insert an appropriate response based on my user profile and the history. So having a sort of memory of the things that I've spoken about in the past. And then of course, it'd be great to actually think about what is the value of embedding a native application on iOS or Android, providing the app notifications directly into the mobile device. Maybe that's of great value to some people. And then looking at other things, maybe a little bit more esoteric around personality. Can your Qlik bot have a personality? Can you customize that personality, or can an end user customize that personality? Right now, we're mainly focused on our bot speaking in English, although with QlikBot.net, we have been working on other language support as well, and hopefully that will be coming soon. And then, of course, I think it's important to remember that not all bots are just text-based, right? Especially, you look at things like Google Home or Alexa. You should be able just to ask your question out loud and have the bot speak the answer back to you. And so that's definitely something we're working on as well. I think focused use cases is maybe sounds like an obvious thing here, but I think it's easily forgotten. Is that often we look at or we expect chatbots to have this general intelligence. But the reality is we're really not quite there with the technology to be able to do that yet. So if you want your bot to be successful, you should try to narrow the use case as much as possible. And that may mean focusing on specific industries so it easily understands domain-specific jargon, or looking at just solving particular cases where people are generally asking specific types of questions. Now, we want to caution you not to go kind of over-rotated on that. Don't get too specific, but I think it will be interesting to see, the capabilities of making it easier to use when you do kind of focus it on specific use cases. And then finally, alerting. So again, we really want to make it easy for users to get the information at the right time in the right place. So if they're asking about a KPI inside of Telegram, it should be easy just to say something like, remind me if sales goes over, X threshold. And then it will maybe prompt you, okay, sure, do you want to confirm that? Or do you want that reminder via email or via chat? And then it will just go ahead and set it once you've confirmed. So those are just a few of the ideas that we have on where this technology is going. But we hope that you will also contribute ideas on where this technology is going. And that's part of why we're having this webinar today. So the last slide I have here is to provide you with some technical resources. So of course, these two projects are on Qlik Branch. And we will also, well, we already have these links on the Qlik bot group inside of Qlik community. And so hopefully you've already joined that group. It is a member group. And that link is right here. It's called Qlik Chatbots. We also have a Slack channel dedicated to Qlik bots on our Qlik Branch Slack team. So hopefully you've also joined that. And we've posted a few blog posts, and there's actually more blog posts coming as we develop new features. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much and maybe open it up to questions. So if you have questions, I would ask that you please post those questions into the community question page, not using the Twitch page, but please post it into community. And I do see that we have a couple of questions there already. So the first one is, assuming installation is all okay, how easy is it to point this at a new app that's not one of the existing demo apps? What steps are involved? So maybe this could be a question for both Wu and for Yanni. So Wu, would you mind answering first, please?
So if you see carefully during the demo, you can just use a command, the app command, to change the app to any app if the user have access to that, of course. So it's pretty easy in Qlik actually.
So actually, I forgot to actually show that in the demo. So let me go ahead and
Oh, right,
that.
sorry. Yeah, sorry, Todd didn't show that.
Yeah, oops. And let me switch back to QlikBotNet. And if I just type apps here, you'll see that it does return all the different apps here. Now, maybe this question could be interpreted in two ways. That's for the end user to switch between different apps. So as soon as we were looking at the consumer goods app, if I go ahead and switch over to the Viva app, just by clicking on it, then if I hit type dimensions and measures, it will provide me, or just KPIs, it will tell me what KPIs we have just for that particular app. So that's how you do it from the end user. But I think the question might also have been maybe more from a developer or administrator point of view. So how can a developer or administrator set up QlikBotNet for use with a different app than the ones that we've worked with?
For now, you need to set up in QMC, and all the details are in the admin manual, which is on GitHub.
Right.
It's not hard as well.
Okay. Yeah, so, and again, that link is provided here. We are going to provide this PowerPoint with you, for you with the recording of this webinar, or you can just get this straight from the GitHub page as well. It's on the main README. So the main answer for that is through the QMC using tags. Yanni, would you mind answering that question as well, please?
Yeah, as long as, of course, the QMC is step one. As long as you have the app set up in QMC and you have the ID, you just go to the config file under server. You change the app ID there, and that's it. Done.
So sorry, I was a little late getting to that. Okay, so that would be inside the QMC, changing it in there, right?
No, this is the virtual proxy. Do you want to open the GitHub open source for the QlikBot node? It's under server and then config.
Sure.
That config.
If we look here, sorry, so under server.
To the files, right? Go, up, go on the top. All the way up. Go to the files, all the way up. There you go. From here, you can go to up. Server.
And config.
And then config. Open the config. And here is a list of QVFs. You can change the host for your where your QMC lies and the app ID, and you're done.
Perfect. Great. Thank you very much. Okay, so I see another question here. Will they support section access? Yanni, would you go ahead and ask about that?
Can he be more? Can he clarify what he means section access? Because usually section access is in the load editor, and we don't have to do anything with that. It's a QVF loading script. So if that's what the user means,
well,
then,
I think actually what they're asking, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'll try to interpret it, is that when individual users interact with QlikBot node, will each user only see the data that is, their data that they're able to see, just like in the Qlik app?
Right, because they connect to specific app, they will see only specific stuff for that app, nothing else. But that being said, since right now, for the Telegram, everything is over the anonymous proxy. That means that they can connect and see all the other apps that are under the anonymous stream for that proxy. So depending on how you set the stream and the apps in the QMC, then you can restrict section access. What is coming up in the next few weeks is going to be ticketing. So I will give a specific user to specific stream access and get specific apps. But that's down the road. Now I'm using the anonymous proxy, and depends on how you set up the anonymous proxy.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Wu, do you want to talk at all about section access for QlikBot net?
The short answer is yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it is a different type of setup than QlikBot node, if I understand it. With QlikBot net, every user should be connecting directly as that user with their own user in their own Qlik Sense user, right?
Yep. So behind behind the Telegram is that all the Telegram users are mapped to Qlik Sense user. So unless you map two Telegram user to the same Sense user, if not, all the Telegram users should see a different session.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. So I see another question we have is there a video tutorial available to install QlikBot net?
Not yet. But that's a good question. Maybe we'll. But we do have a pretty good installation manual. You can check that out. It's very detailed. It just follows step by step. It should be sufficient.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't believe that there is video documentation, but the actual install documentation is very detailed. So we're looking at the GitHub page. There's a detailed user guide, and then inside here there's a detailed installation guide, and it really does go step by step on how to on everything that you need to do to install QlikBotNet. So please visit that. It's you can see it's pretty detailed in here. If you do have questions that you get stuck on, please you can either post those questions in the QlikBots community group, or you can use the Slack branch team in the QlikBots group there. I have another question here about what about integration with Skype? So I think we have mentioned a couple times that currently the only two messaging platforms either of these two projects work with is Telegram. However, as Yanni kind of teased earlier, Skype is in the works. And Yanni, do you want to say anything about that?
Yes, thank you, Todd. That's a very good question. Actually, I forgot to mention that earlier. It's coming up. It's going to be released tomorrow by the end of the day, hopefully. I'm experiencing some difficulties with Microsoft and Azure services because Microsoft is transferring all the services to Azure right now and is giving us a hard time. But the code is there. It's bulletproof. I'm going to have it by tomorrow. I'm going to blog about it. It's not going to have a live demo though, because of the limitation of the users. Hopefully that's going to be resolved in the next week or so, and everybody can see it. But yeah, I'm going to have it by tomorrow.
That's very, very exciting. Thank you so much for that. And do you want to say anything about how people will be able to access that? So I assume that you will push the code to GitHub, to the main master branch?
Yes, I'm going to push and merge in the master branch, by tomorrow. Yes.
Great. Okay, thank you. And I have another question here about asking, what about security? Do apps need to be available online always? For example, do apps need to have something like a VPN? Or can they use a VPN if possible?
That's a tricky question. I do not know if you need a VPN. It's again up to how you set up the QMC. If people can access the hub and the app anonymously via the anonymous proxy, it's going to be available to everybody. If it's over the Windows proxy and you have authentication, they're not going to be able to see that. So, yeah, I don't have that in the QlikBot node yet. No, everything is via anonymous, so everybody can see it. If that's the question.
And so for Woo, I think Yanni kind of answered in that first part, right? That it can be configured however you'd like. Is that right?
Right.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. And I don't really understand the second part. Is do apps need to be available online always? Does that mean do you need to open the app always, or do you need to load the app always? But if it's for botnet, right now there's no way you can close the app after you use it, but it will be closed if it goes inactive for a while, if I'm not wrong, and you don't have to open the app. The app doesn't need to be available online always.
Mm-hmm. It will disconnect the session.
Yep.
Okay. We have another question here about the environment. So do QlikBotNet app and Qlik Sense server need to be on the same server, or can they be on different servers?
They can definitely be on different servers, but it would be much, much easier if they are on the same server.
Why would it be easier?
So you can bypass security and checking because currently oh no, it has to be on the same server because right now there's no authentication for bot. Oh no, actually no, it doesn't have to be on the same server. Sorry. Depends on your security setting.
Yeah, again, I think that this is an option. You can have it on the same server, or you can also choose to put it on a different server. In the config file, there are options to tell it what the host name of the server is, and it could be pointed at a different one, I believe.
Yep.
And Yanni, do you want to talk about QlikBot Node as far as hosting on multiple servers?
Yeah, I prefer to have a Qlik Sense server enterprise on a separate online entity, and have the server on the QlikBot node server on a different server, and then whitelist in the virtual proxy the new domain. I think that's safer, faster, less resources, and I think it's a better solution. That's at least what I'm using right now with the live demo.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. So we have a somewhat related question here about licensing. Does each user need its own token or just one for the bot? I will go ahead and take the answer to this one. And I will say that, from a Qlik licensing perspective, you should not be using a Qlik bot to provide access to multiple users through just a single license, right? This isn't, we don't want anyone obviously taking advantage of our terms to be able to use a Qlik bot to provide free access essentially to more than one user. That being said, you can have a service user with some of these bots that handles some of the generic sort of connection, like setting up the socket and doing maybe the rendering or things like that. And then have individual sessions per user. That's the ideal format. So Yanni or Wu, would you like to extrapolate about your specific implementations?
Regarding the QlikBot node, everything is through Enigma.js, and every single time that you connect to the server, you open a WebSocket connection, and that's a new session, so that accumulates a token. So you need tokens for the users that are going to be using it.
But I think the question specifically is a single user or multiple users?
Multiple users.
Okay. Okay. Will?
And for botnet, as I just said, the Telegram user is mapped to Qlik Sense user. So if you use the same token, you lose section access, and I think that's going to be very messy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We have
Can I?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Something?
Sure.
It's like using the capabilities API over the web. However many people open new sessions and browse your website and you view the mashup, each web user is a new token, right? So it's the same idea. It's the same principle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Okay.
Thank you.
So one last question here is there any detailed documentation for QlikBot Node like we have for QlikBot Net?
There is a detailed documentation. I'm pretty sure, though, that I'm missing a lot of stuff because I tried to put everything that I know and I remember. But if there's anything else that is missing, please email me or something, and I will definitely add it.
Yeah, so I think one thing I would like to maybe point out, if we look at the documentation, so we've got this one README page here, and if you scroll down here, there are some actual sub-pages that you may not have noticed the first time through. And so specifically for each messaging platform that he's added so far, there's another page. So if we click on the Telegram link here, there is pretty detailed documentation from a user perspective of how to actually set up a new QlikBot node instance with Telegram, and then the different the process, the kind of step-by-step process of to do that, and then also some usage information there as well. But I think that the point is well taken. There is not really nearly as much documentation or as thorough documentation as QlikBot.net. And hopefully, this could be a collective activity, not just up to Yanni to build out that documentation. But again, this is an open source collaboration. We're really hoping that you in our developer community will also start to contribute back. And that could be just through the form of enhancing documentation. If you find something missing, please feel free to actually edit the README file, add new files, and create a new pull request with those changes. But this should be something that, I should put it this way, it has to be something that is more than just what, Yanni and Wu and I are working on. We're really, hoping to create a collaboration here with everyone. And I think with that, we may be over. Oh, wait, nope, a new one just came in. So when we type in measures, the ones displayed are master items, or are the ones displayed master items or the fields categorized based on numeric and string. So I'm guessing this is specific to QlikBot.net here. So Wu, would you like to answer that?
That's the fields.
So it's just the fields that it's looking at.
Yes.
So are you sure about that?
I'll confirm that again. I'm looking at the code right now.
I thought it was master. So if we look at, sorry, I actually seem to have hidden the demo here, so I have to go back to the demo here. Okay, so I think the question is, if I type measures here, are these master measures that are coming back or all fields? And the reason why I think that it must be master measures is because if it was just a field, it wouldn't necessarily know, well, it wouldn't have a name for it, and it wouldn't know what's a measure versus what's a dimension. And so I think that these are just master library items.
Give me 10 seconds.
Sure.
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, and while you're doing that, let me just see. So it looks like we have one other question. So if it is fields, then can we binary load a QlikView app and connect it with the bot? Interesting. So basically converting a QlikView app into a Qlik Sense app without creating new master items. I think, again, this depends, in theory, yes. This will work with any Qlik Sense app, but I do believe that they are master library items, not just any field.
Sorry, it's actually master items.
Right. Okay.
My mistake.
No worries. That's fine. Because yeah, that sort of just makes a bit more sense. That's how it knows what's a measure and what's a dimension. So yes, you can do the binary load from a QlikView app to a Sense app, but you will need to create master library measures and dimensions, as well as the master visualizations I should mention if you want those visualizations to show up when you do the natural language query. Okay, so I believe we are actually out of time, so we're going to go ahead and shut this down. Please, if you have more questions, feel free to post those in the QlikBot group on community. And again, I will go ahead and show those links. Or so you can post it here on QlikBot community or into our Qlik Branch Slack team. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And let's make 2018 the year of the QlikBot apocalypse in a good way. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you, Yanni, and thank you, Wu.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Todd. Thank you, everyone. Bye.